The Pioneers are back this weekend with a home-and-home versus upstart St. John Fisher. It's going to be an interesting weekend. St. John Fisher, now in my stats to note while I bring them up, they're ninth in penalties, which, awesome. Our top 10 in penalties, I think they were top 10 in penalty minutes, if I remember correctly off the top of my head. And they are ninth at 15 if it'll pull up. 14.94 average, I think that's penalties a game or penalty minutes a game. The stat isn't very well translated to English from the acronym, but that comes in at ninth. Their power play is a very, very low 11.69, which is near the bottom of D3. I think they're bottom 10. 2.78 goals per game, just below the bottom half a little bit, 57th in the nation. Though they have a freshman named Ciappa. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. He's ninth in freshman points with 19, and the kid is going off. He's not someone who's blowing everyone out with 15 goals or 15 assists. He's very evenly split with how he gets his points. But St. John Fisher is 3-5 when the opponent scores first. And they also have a couple losses on the schedule. They're now 9-9. They started very well, but the last couple weeks have hit a little bit of a skid. They just played Brockport. I know they lost the first game. I don't know if they lost the second game. It's loading. But they do sport 2 losses to Geneseo. And both of them weren't necessarily close. Which, okay, that's fair. Geneseo, while they're now in kind of a downslope, they're still Geneseo. I wouldn't shy away from them. Sport losses to Chatham 2-3. Although that was in the Buffalo State tournament on the neutral site. A loss to Elmira, they split with them. Both of those, one was in Elmira, one was in Fairport. So, one was home, one was away. Split with Albertus Magnus. They did originally beat Brockport in the Castleton tournament and took home a win against Castleton. Lost 2 games to Geneseo, split with Arcadia, and then split with Brockport in their conference, and lost 2 games to Chatham. And those 2 losses to Chatham did do a little more of a knock to their record. They are now 9-9, and in the conference they are 3-7. They've been struggling. At home they're 4-5. On the road they're 4-3, and at neutral sites they're 1-1. Obviously, the only ranked losses they have right now were to Geneseo, the only ranked games they played in. And now they see Utica. I'm actually going out to the one in St. John Fisher, so we'll see how that goes. But Sam Ciappa is their team leader in points with 19. Brenda Merriman's right behind him with 14. Leighton Pettypice, sorry if I'm mispronouncing any of these names, is right behind him with 13. And Ian Emery with 11. Those are their top 5 point getters. Ciappa leads them in goals with 9. Emery behind him with 7. And then also leads them in assists with 10, tied with Pettypice. And that freshman is good. He's really good. That's the player you're going to have to watch on St. John Fisher's side. And then obviously on Uca's side, there's been a couple talented performances the last couple games, not days. Guys like Kuznetsov, the newcomer, who's playing such good hockey. You have Cerrato, who has been going all year, hasn't stopped. Good hockey. And then it's just, you've got the goalie split, which I have a feeling this weekend is going to be the same. Of Curtin gets 1, Murphy gets 1. If not, Murphy probably gets both. You give Curtin a bit of a rest. But I'd say it's 1-1. I'm recording this at 2:30-ish, so the lineup won't come out till about 5:15, 5:30. So there's a couple hours until it comes out. But my best guess is it will look similar to the last couple lineups, unless what I assume is injuries to guys like Longhi and Brighton. That's the only way I can think they would stay out, unless you see them back in the lineup and return from what I assume is injuries. I don't know. I don't have any sort of know on this. This is just an assumption based on what the lineup has looked like before, and the only thing that's taken guys out really has been injuries. So that's probably why we haven't seen them. But I'm sure 90% of it will stay the same, of at least your forwards. Your first line won't change of Rogers, Rivera, Morse. Your second line, unless Mac gets pulled out, will stay the same. That's the gut line. There may be a little movement if Gomez comes in, and probably McClellan would be the one to come out. Well, Gomez, I think, would just take the 4C spot from McClellan and they switch. Or if something's not working, they move something around here and there. Maybe Kuznetsov gets the bump to the third line. I think a bump to the third line would help Kuznetsov, but I think Hughes fits better there. I don't think Kuznetsov at all fits with the fourth line necessarily. But then again, I would have thought the same thing about Vito. And Vito's got 16 points. So, but some of that was running at different spots in the lineup because that was before Rogers came in and Kuznetsov. Defense, if Barrett comes in, may move around a little. Or if Brighton is healthy, it may move around a little. Other than that, I don't see it really changing. And, I mean, you're probably going to see somebody have a big night. I expect it to be Kuznetsov, who's averaging 1.83 repeating points per game since he's got to Utica, which is fantastic. And not only that, the Pioneers, among their stats, their last 28 days, their power play percentage has been a 48.28, and in the last 14, it's above 50%. They are 12-2 when they outshoot opponents. Their goals per game has jumped again to 7th with a 4.35. Like I said, Cerrato's up there. 14 assists, is 5th among freshmen. That is tied with somebody. And it's just that this lineup has somewhat found a mark and is chugging along. You know, it seems like everyone kind of found their slot and is playing their role. And that's not a bad thing. I mean, a Gary-led team finds its way one way or another. And it found its way. It just took a while. Last weekend, you had great performances from Rogers, Ahern, Cerrato, Kuznetsov. This week, I think you'll still see a lot from those guys, but, you know, it could be someone just steps up and but drops. Because that's, in my time watching Utica hockey, sometimes series like this where you're probably going to win, and you're playing a team that is high on penalty minutes, someone's going to drop a 3-goal game or a 4 or 5 point game or something. It's just, you never know who. Utica's playoff picture also hasn't really changed since last week. They jump one spot in NPI, which really only, as long as all the conference winners stay true in terms of what it looks like right now, and the projections, only moves them up a spot, doesn't change much. Just the location of their first game, not the opponent. Actually, it does change the opponent because I think it was Baudouin lost. So it would be, the projection right now is number 6 Utica plays number 7 UNE, and then we'll move on to play number 2 Hamilton coming off a bye, which Utica can handle Hamilton, but I wish it were in Utica. If it's in Hamilton, I'm going to campaign to go, though, because I want to see a Utica that should have won that first Hamilton game. The Stripes took that game out of the players' hands, and ultimately, at the end of the day, that's not what you want to do as a ref. I'm sorry, that's not. And I'm still not happy that they took that game out of the players' hands and made the game about the refs. That's not how it works. But anyways, go Utica. Let's hope they get 2 more wins, continue to roll through the conference. Next week is Elmira. Elmira just shocked Geneseo. I really don't know if there's going to be more conference upsets this week. That's what it's going to have to be for people to keep an eye on, because the last 2 weeks Geneseo has split with whoever they're playing. If I remember correctly who they're playing, I don't think they will this week. I'm pulling it up now. Now that I say that. This week, Geneseo is Chatham. So there's the possibility that Geneseo gets 1 or 2 losses this weekend. Magnus has Manhattanville. Brockport's playing Fredonia in an out-of-conference. Naz plays Elmira, who just shocked Geneseo and then almost was within one of them again the second game. And, obviously you have Utica St. John Fisher. So, Nazareth also just took Oswego to a 4-4 overtime and a shootout win last Tuesday. So, the conference, it used to be, okay, your Utica, last season it was your Utica and Geneseo were 1. They were Tier 1. Tier 2 was Nazareth. Tier 3 was everybody else, pretty much. You didn't really have more than one team that you were worried about. Maybe Manhattanville, depending on the day. Now, your Tier 1 is Utica. I'd argue you have an argument to put Geneseo in Tier 2 or Tier 1. Or if you see Tier 2 and 1 as the same, it's Utica, Geneseo, Naz, and Chatham. But I think Chatham has been picking on some easy opponents, which is why I wouldn't. I would say Utica, maybe Geneseo, Chatham, Naz, and Magnus. And then you have Elmira, and maybe St. John Fisher in there. And then Manhattanville, Brockport, Elmira. But this conference is more competitive this year. We've seen more upsets, and I'm excited. I'm genuinely excited to see how the rest of the season goes, because I don't know what's going to happen. I really don't. And then just to note, across D3, I don't know if there's any upsets necessarily, or potential upsets that could set up the Pioneers. UNE is playing Johnson & Wales, who, if I remember correctly, was the one who almost knocked off a higher team or two. Actually, there is one game to keep an eye on if you're Utica. Aurora plays Trine. Trine had 1 or 2 losses that knocked them back to normalcy recently, but I won't rule it out, not with this season. And that's the only one I'd say that you're probably going to have to be on upset watch, other than maybe the Geneseo game. Why am I saying the Geneseo game? No, I'm right. The Geneseo game. Other than those two, looking at least tonight, St. Norbertine plays Adrian, so one of them is going to fall probably. So Utica may get a spot there. Actually, Adrian might be under them now in NPI. Are they? All I know is that those are going to be the games that you probably should watch. St. Norbert, I know, dropped out of the projection, or at least if they were the conference winner. There was movement with St. Norbert in the tournament projection. I know that. So looking at it, yep, Adrian is below. So if you're Utica, both of them are below. They're 9 and 10. Yeah, so there's really not, other than Aurora, nobody else, at least today, I would say, has an upset watch above Utica. Below them, you have 1 or 2. And I want Chatham to win both, because wins for Chatham later in the year will do good things for Utica if they win. But I don't know. Anyways, I'll see ya. Peace.